How's it going, Rams? Welcome back to another edition of CTV Sports. I'm Mike Walsh.
And I'm Leah Cackowski. It's finally April. The sun is shining, flowers are blossoming, and spring sports are rolling. Here's what we'll be covering tonight.
CSU tennis played its first pair of home conference matches this season. Find out if the Rams were able to bounce back after their most recent stumble.
The stadium lights hit CSU softball for the first time ever. As the smell of popcorn and chatter filled the new ballpark, see if the Rams capped off the night with a win.
And lastly, in year one of the NBA, David Roddy has yet to forget about Colorado State. Hear more from his exclusive sit-down interview with KCSU.
All that and more on CTV Sports, which starts right now.
We begin over on the tennis courts where the Rams hosted both San Jose State and Nevada. And on the exact opposite end of last week's report, the women won both of their matches, proving whose house it truly was. Starting off with their match on Saturday against the Spartans, the Rams simply dominated, putting together quality performances in both the doubles and singles columns. And the first match that had to be perfect as the Rams had a bad taste in their mouth from the previous contests. Fortunately, though, this one was just the kind of cleansing win they needed. And per usual, let's take a glimpse at how the green and gold looked on paper. As I said earlier, the Rams dominated with huge doubles wins in the number 2 and 3 matches. First from Zara Lennon and Kai Ekton with a final score of 6-3, and then again shortly after from Richterova and Zazinskaya, who inched a close one 7-6. But the doubles weren't the Rams' only bright spot in singles. Both Bushkova and Richterova took some W's as well and did so pretty easily. In all honesty, this one seemed like a cakewalk for CSU, and perhaps it had to do with being back at home. Here's one of the Rams' best in Sarka Richterova after the match.
It's completely different because for our first weekend, we went to Fresno, which is low altitude, sea level basically, and the tennis is super slow. So for us, it's a big advantage to be in here and to get to compete home, where it's so fast and we can play our game. Winning the conference, I feel like this year we have the strongest team ever in CSU, and so we're really close to doing it. So that's our team goal, and personal goal is the same thing.
It really is cool hearing those encouraging words from Richterova, and as we now know, of course, her positive energy definitely helped the team for Sunday. The match against the Wolfpack was a much closer contest as the Rams squeaked this one out 4-3. Given struggles in the doubles columns, the Rams needed a big day from their singles, and that's exactly what they got. 4 out of these 6 matches went in the Rams' favor, giving the club some much-needed points and setting this one in stone. And analyzing the scores in the stat sheet, we see it much more spread out, with the Wolfpack stealing away doubles points in both the first and second matches. However, in the singles, both Richterova and Bushkova stole some big wins. And later on, Zara Lennon and Luana Avalar contributed as well, with Avalar needing 3 sets to get past her opponent. Truly a full team effort from the Rams this past Sunday, and every piece of it was needed. So overall, a successful weekend for the women's tennis team, who just keep getting more and more attention. The Rams only have a 5-day break, though, so there'll be more news on them next week. But let's keep it focused on the present. Leah, what's the latest on softball?
Well, Mike, the Rams put up quite the battle against the Runnin' Rebs. Friday consisted of complete chaos as CSU fell 13-12 in a 9-inning game. What's worse is that the Rams came back from 8 runs down. You don't see that every day. But if you thought that was the only out-of-the-ordinary event of the series, think again, because the Rams made history playing in their first ever night game here in Fort Collins, and Saturday night was remarkable. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. Fans packed the house, as well as alumni, to show support for this great program on such a significant night. And night games have such a special feeling, don't they? But unfortunately, CSU came up a little short. As you can see, Hornbuckle starting off strong with a nasty changeup, and in the third inning, Peyton Alling driving the outside pitch deep to center field for the monstrous home run. In the 7th inning, the Rams were down 9-2, but don't worry, Molly Gates showed a glimmer of hope with his absolute awesome double, and then we'd go on to Haley Smith snowballing effect with the home run, and Cerna with the off-the-wall single to get the Rams up to 6 runs. But unfortunately, we move back to the pass play, and Sydney Hornbuckle ended the game with a strike 3 looking. And even though that wasn't the outcome the green and gold expected, third time's a charm as they finally caught their break on Sunday. The Rams knew they had to play strategically to get the dub, as most of their runs scored were on sac flies, singles, and most of all errors. UNLV had a whopping total of 4 Gs. But Hornbuckle stayed strong on the mound and was able to close it out with the final score of 8-5. And looking at the series in comparison, it was close. CSU put up such a fight in Game 1, and like I said, Saturday was challenging as well, having to stay composed on such a historic night. But regardless, the Rams were able to avoid the sweep and kept their heads held high. After this weekend, the Rams now sit at 18-11 for the year and 5th in the conference. Hopefully, they can use that last dub as motivation heading into San Jose State this Thursday. But now, I guess we have to transition to something not so spring-worthy. Mike, what urgent news do you have from football?
Well, Leah, for the first time this spring, the team brought the pads out to practice, so yes, the preparation is real. And looking in from an outside perspective, this version of CSU football is gelling really well together, and in the words of head coach Jay Norvell, getting better every day. Most of the team's practices start with some position-centered drills. For example, the offensive line performs sled pushes, and this is to help with their ability to move defenders away from the center of the offense in Clay Millen. And speaking of the Rams quarterback, the roster actually contains 5 total QBs, and while that may seem a bit high, it gives Millen a chance to take breaks in practices and see things he can't see while on the field. But anyways, after all those personnel drills, Coach Norvell calls the team over for some 11v11, and those games never disappoint. From big interceptions to some huge run from CSU running backs, the show they put on is truly encouraging for the year ahead. But it is still just practice though, so we really can't read that much into it. However, I should remind you, Coach Norvell did struggle in his first season at Nevada, going 3-9, but then quickly turned it around into 4 straight winning seasons and 4 bowl appearances. So maybe, just maybe, that can happen for the Rams too. But after practice, one of the Rams' top defenders in Mohamed Kamara had this to say about the defense.
We expect to be the best defense in the conference. I mean, that's all it is, you know. And I think a lot of us, even the young guys, are implementing that. You know, there's nothing else that we can ask for. We played a lot of games, we did a lot of good stuff, but still didn't win. Now the next transformation is being the best. We was pretty good, but now it's trying to be the best.
And I know we've heard positive things for a few weeks now, but hearing this kind of stuff from one of the leaders of the team really makes me want to believe that we can have a winning season. But speaking of winning, the women's golf team is almost always at the top of the standings. So Leah, how about an update from the fairway?
Well, Mike, the Rams just finished the Chattanooga Classic down in Tennessee, and they saved their best for the final round today, shooting 6 under 282 and matching their second best round of the season. 4 of the 5 Rams went under par, bumping the team up to 7th for the event. Colorado State now has 2 weeks to prepare for the 2023 Mountain West Championship, which takes place in Rancho Mirage, California. But Mike, last Saturday I saw the CSU track team buzzing with activity. Did my eyes deceive me?
No, Leah. In fact, for those passing by on College Avenue, they might have thought it was a local high school event. But instead, it was the first of 2 track meets Colorado State would host this season. And like softball, the Jack Christensen Invitational brought in an electric environment, and the crowd wasn't disappointing, seeing 3 Rams break school records. The most monstrous of them all was Jackson Morris in the men's javelin throw. The senior, who already owns the school record, reset it on his second to last throw before breaking it once more on his final toss. Morris' last read read 74.27 meters, 5 meters better than his previous record and ranking 3rd in the nation. The Rams then saw a pair of triple jumpers set school records, freshman Joanne Pinnock on the women's side and junior Alam Bouchara on the men's. And a group of Rams also competed at the Stanford Invitational, where another trio etched their names into the school record books. In the women's 10K, Annabelle Stafford, Sarah Carter, and Lily Thomasula Martin all placed top 3 with runs under the previous school record time. Up next, the team will split for either Palo Alto, California, or Greeley. And I mean, Leah, it's truly incredible to see what the track and field team has accomplished so far this season. I mean, I still feel like they're not getting talked about enough.
No, I agree. I think they showed out so well in the Mountain West tournament this year. It is unbelievable what we see. So many names, such diverse talent. I'm so proud of this group.
Yeah, I mean, the men's team got 2nd in the indoor season, and the women's team got 1st. I mean, they are set for a huge spring season.
I am so excited for them to finish it out. And now a name we forgot to mention was Lexi Keller. The fifth-year senior placed first in the women's high jump last Saturday, just another Ram performing at a high level.
And with more on her, we pass it over to our feature reporter, Dylan Heinrich. Dylan?
Thanks, guys. The track and field team is still buzzing after their first home meet of the season this past weekend. I got a chance to catch up with one of the team's top talents, Lexi Keller, and hear more about her journey and experiences with CSU track. The Colorado State track and field team is one of the top groups in the Mountain West. The women finished in first place in the conference during the indoor season, while the men finished second. While there are plenty of athletes who have impressed this year, perhaps none have made a difference more than one of the top heptathletes in the nation, Lexi Keller. Heptathletes are a unique group as they compete in 7 different events: the 100-meter hurdles, the 200 and 800-meter runs, the high and long jump, the shot put, and the javelin throw.
A few coaches responded, hey, like you might need to bring down your 400 time or bring up your high jump if you want to come here. And Coach Bailey was the first coach that was like, I think you would be a good heptathlete.
For me, I look at the ability to maybe take athletes who were pretty solid to get them to the next level. A lot of times that has to happen in teaching them new events and doing a lot more maybe in some other things to go to that next level. And sometimes it works, and honestly, sometimes it doesn't. But with Lexi, it absolutely did. She had the personality. She loved learning new events. She loved the throws. You could tell she had an arm, so that's a big deal. And it just kind of worked out.
Keller has excelled as a multi-athlete at Colorado State, including a 10th place finish in the pentathlon at the NCAA Indoor Championships this year, and a 6th place finish in the heptathlon and the National Outdoor Championships last year.
Biggest thing she improved on was her confidence and her attitude, and the fact and her commitment. Honestly, she's always been great. She's always been a good athlete. She's solid, but she wanted to be a great athlete, and she made the specific sacrifices necessary to be great.
Perhaps Keller's most invaluable skill isn't her athletic ability, but instead her spot as a leader on the team.
She's an even better person than athlete, and she's a hell of an athlete. So if that doesn't tell you, so she's an awesome person. I think her leadership skills, oh my gosh, just incredible. I mean, we lose Lexi. I mean, that's not replaceable.
I love leading the team. I love trying to help others in any way that I can and show them that you will grow and you will progress, and that it is kind of difficult at first, but you have to buy in, and those are the things I heard as a freshman, so I just try to kind of pass that on.
Keller and the rest of CSU track and field will continue to improve this outdoor season as they inch closer and closer to the postseason beginning in May. Mike and Leah, back to you.
And well, Rams, we're going to take a short break.
But when we return, we have a very special segment to bring your way, so stick around.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. Now, when legendary CSU athletes leave campus, we try to never let their names slip memory. And this couldn't be any more true than David Roddy.
The basketball forward is the highest drafted ever from Colorado State, and KCSU's Portia Cook caught up with the former Rams star in Memphis while he finishes his rookie season for the Grizzlies.
My name is Portia Cook with 90.5 FM KCSU Fort Collins. I am here in Memphis, Tennessee with the David Roddy. Now, David, Fort Collins misses you, CSU misses you. What do you miss most about being at CSU and playing ball at CSU?
Yeah, oh man, I just really miss the community. Again, campus is beautiful. So down here in the winter, you don't get too much sun. So that's what I really miss the most is just the sunlight, 300 days of sun out there. And just really just my teammates and my friends out there, really just not seeing them every day. It's a little bit different. But again, I try to keep in contact with them as much as possible and just really just support them from afar.
What has made sticking with the NBA the right decision for you?
Yeah, being in the right position to be drafted by Memphis in the first place was, I'm just super blessed to be here in the first place. Again, just really just trusting that process and believing in myself and betting on myself, as well as just understanding that it was, time to move on. As hard as it was to understand that, I just trusted myself and had faith in myself that it was the right decision. And now, I'm here and just enjoying my rookie year and just experiencing everything for the first time.
Now, I know it's still very early in your career, but is this where you expected to be sitting at in your rookie year at this point?
Yeah, I didn't really expect to do anything my rookie year, really. I didn't know what to expect. So for me to just contribute to the team as much as I can to winning is an achievement of mine, and it's a goal of mine. So I just want to do my best every day to just continue to do that and just be more consistent with that.
Now, you will soon be headed into your second season. What's next for Roddy in basketball? What can we expect to see from you in the future?
Yeah, hopefully development, through the years. Summer leagues coming up and, playoffs first, of course, but really just development in every facet of my game. And we'll see what happens next year.
I love it. Well, again, my name is Portia Cook. I'm here in Memphis, Tennessee with the David Roddy, just drafted last year in 2022 from Colorado State University. David, thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Go Rams.
And joining us to discuss more on her conversation with David Roddy is the one and only Portia Cook. Cook is the news director over at KCSU, but will be a CTV Sports contributor tonight. Portia, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
We're excited too. And so the first question that we have, so you traveled all the way down to Memphis to do this interview with David Roddy. Just kind of take us through that process and what that experience was like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think traveling to an entirely different state, and not only that, to interview Roddy, an NBA player, having media credentials for such a big game, it's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So, you have the little things like wanting to make sure you pack all the right stuff and you have all of your media stuff. Do I have all of my cameras? I ended up forgetting all of my audio equipment. But aside from the normal travel, going through DIA, hopping on a plane, and getting to Memphis, I think one of the really neat parts of being able to be a part of this experience was getting to check in as media at the FedEx Forum and going even just through the hallways and going through the media rooms and just seeing the behind the scenes of what takes place. So it was a very, very neat experience.
No, it's definitely really cool getting right up and close with them.
Yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
Cool.
Yep. So what ended up happening is I did have access to the shoot-around, which took place the day of the game, and that was around 10 a.m. So I was able to go there, take some photos and video of them shooting around, and right after that was when I did my interview with Roddy.
That's awesome.
Which was wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then just going along with the questions here, Roddy talked a lot about trusting Colorado State and kind of the system they have with MedVed. How important do you think those words are, especially to a team that had kind of a disappointing season this year?
That's a great question, and I do think it is highly important, and not only when the team is doing good, but when we do have some struggles. And I think what Roddy speaks about when he's talking about trusting that process and trusting in Coach Medved is, it's unique to hear from somebody like Roddy because he does have that more personal behind-the-scenes relationship with Coach Medved. He sees a little bit of what we don't see on the outside. And for us as fans, sometimes it can be hard to trust that process. We have kind of this focus of, we want our team to do the best, we want to be winning consistently, but I think what Roddy speaks to is the process sometimes means those highs and those lows and those ups and those downs. So trusting that that is a part of the process and that Coach Medved is here to lead us to exactly where we all want to see our team be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's cool they have such a close relationship, which shows how he's doing
Absolutely.
so well right now. And I mean, you talked to Roddy about so many things, like CSU, what he's doing now. Is there a specific moment in the conversation that stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I think it's really, really unique to hear about just the human part of being a player. A lot of the times we see the glitz and the glam and being on the court and the celebrity of being a player, but I loved when he spoke about the dynamic with his family and his family transitioning out to Memphis with him, and even the little things that he still values of just asking his mom and his brother how their day went, just to have some type of normalcy with him on a day-to-day basis. I think it's important for us to see that and to remember, while he is out there balling and doing his thing, while he's the legendary Roddy, he's still a brother, he is a son, he is a friend, and he still goes home like all of us and still has, you know, a life to live outside of basketball. So I really, really liked that.
Yeah, he's a true human being.
Absolutely.
That's really cool you got that side of him too.
I think when you're in those kind of like close up to them, you don't really realize that kind of stuff. You think they're just stars, but then you get kind of close up and you realize they're just kind of players.
They're just like us.
Yeah.
They just play basketball really well.
Yes.
But then going away from the players, what was your main takeaway from the whole experience, just what you did?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There were so many different pieces of learning here for me personally and professionally. And I think for myself personally, something that I really took away is just having the confidence in yourself to go out there and do whatever it is, even if it may seem a little bit scary at first. Go 10 toes down, go out there and prove to yourself that you can do whatever it is that you put your mind to. So that was awesome to me, proving to myself, you know, you got this.
Yeah.
You've taken the time to really hone in on your skills and become a subject matter expert, and opportunities are always going to be out there and present themselves to you. Make sure you're ready, and I've done that. So going out there and doing the best job that I can was wonderful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Portia, thanks again for coming in. We really appreciate you taking the time and joining us tonight.
Thank you both so much for having me.
Such a cool experience.
Awesome
Absolutely.
experience. I'm jealous.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Well, you can catch the full interview between Portia and Roddy on KCSUFM.com on the homepage by scrolling down. But in the meantime, Leah, please tell me we're getting CAC's closeout.
Yes, we are, Mike, and in it I have another former CSU basketball legend. That's coming up right after this.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back from the break, Rams, into another edition of CAC's Closeout. And aside from David Roddy, there's another CSU basketball icon in the conversation for tonight. That is now Hall of Famer Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon is a staple for all of women's basketball at the college level and beyond. She set so many record-breaking numbers at Colorado State, including 2,740 total points and 22 points per game. She went on to have an amazing career at the professional level as well, and most recently gained a championship title as the head coach for the Las Vegas Aces. Wow. This year's class was absolutely stacked with legends, including Dwayne Wade, Dirk Nowitzki, Pau Gasol, Tony Parker, Greg Popovich, and of course our very own Becky Hammon. As you can see, she is the only woman to be inducted with this year's class, and let me say, she has paved the way for so many young athletes in the years to come. Hammon is one of the many reasons I can say I'm proud to be a CSU Ram, as she is such an inspiration to all of us at CTV. That's all I have for you tonight on CAC's Closeout, but don't go away just yet. Because when we come back, Out of Pocket brings us an Easter special. What might that mean? Well, we'll tell you in a few.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking. Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Whatever gets you talking. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. Now, it's normally later in the April calendar, but Easter is this Sunday. And while we could talk about the Easter Bunny and Easter eggs, let's go deeper. Of course, the root of Easter lies in Christian tradition, where believers all around the world celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay, bringing us back from 2,000 years ago. Earlier in the show, we talked about David Roddy in his interview with Portia. Roddy is a former CSU'S athlete whose career in the green and gold, you might say, is dead. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, with that and the theology in mind, our out-of-pocket question with Easter approaching is the following. Which CSU athlete would you resurrect from the dead? Dylan, we'll start with you.
So I think there's a lot of athletes here to choose from, but I believe you touched on one of the best athletes in the show, and that's Becky Hammon, obviously. She's going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Her numbers in Moby, she is just a truly phenomenal athlete. And can you imagine her on this next year's CSU squad? I mean, her and Hofschild as a backcourt would be truly insane.
Yeah, that would be.
I think Becky Hammon, again, like we were talking about her today, she's in the Hall of Fame. Absolute player. I think if Hofschild and her, oh my gosh, that would be insanity.
Probably one of the best backcourt duos of all time.
Talk about the basketball IQ of that duo, too. Just those two would each dish out, 10, 12 assists a game?
At least. I mean, McKenna had basically her numbers this year, too, so that would be crazy.
Would be nuts.
Mike, who would you bring back?
I'm going with Greg Myers. I mean, a lot of people are probably not going to know him. He played from 1992 to 1995, but he would have won the biggest award before Becky Hammon went to the Hall of Fame. So he won the Jim Thorpe Award, which is the award for best defensive back in the nation. Arguably the biggest award that CSU has ever gotten, besides, of course, like I just said, Becky Hammon. But he was a two-time All-American and first-team All-Conference all 4 years he played. Came in as a freshman at free safety and really just dominated from the start. I know we do have a good secondary this year. I would say it's one of our better position groups, but I think just having one of the legends of all time on this team would just make the team even better.
I mean, you add a Jim Thorpe winner to any secondary, it's going to be better. I mean, he played as part of the backbone, really, of those Sonny Lubbock's best years, and so when you add him to a team like Norvell that's really defense-centered, and you talked about it earlier in the show, that's their identity. You add another legendary secondary piece, it might be over for the Mountain
It's already good, but you add even that, it would be insane.
I think that would be very beneficial for this year.
What do you say, though?
So mine is even actually farther back, but I chose Bill Green, who played for CSU basketball from 1960 to 1963, and he is literally a legend. He was a forward. He had 22 points per game, over 1,600 points, and led to the conference championship 1961. But his best year was in 63. His last year went to the NCAA tournament. He scored a record-breaking 48 points in one game. He had the NYE award in 1963, even drafted by the Celtics in 1963. But the most interesting thing about him I found, he never had an NBA career because of his fear of flying. He literally never had a career that took off. He ended up becoming a teacher in New York instead, but CSU retired his number. You'll see it up there in Moby. And he was also, I think, the first All-American at CSU. So
crazy.
That's a valid reason, though, to not go to the NBA.
Yeah.
They do a lot of flying.
Yeah.
And especially in the 60s, planes have evolved since then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my guy, and I think we should have him now.
I think all three of these are good options. I think they would all impact these teams generationally.
Yeah, so that would be the peak of CSU if we could bring back three legends overall.
From all different decades. And with that, Rams, that is all the sports action we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in to Local Beats tomorrow for the best of FOCO music. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you then.